Hey everybody, we're here again. It is Atlanta Discuss. Yes, reshaping the narrative, one conversation at a time. Today we're going to Brazil. Yes, not to discuss Brazil, but talking to Nigerians in Brazil. Yes, they have a leader, they have an organization, they have, a well-lubricated machinery that works well for everybody there, and we're talking to the president of Naido Brazil. Naido is Nigerian Diaspora Organization Americas. This encompasses from North America to South America. I'm talking from Canada all the way to Lima, Peru, Chile, Santiago, the Caribbean, everywhere you find Nigerians there. But we're talking to the president of Naido Brazil today. Yes, he's here. Honorable Chika Dori Emmanuel Ori. Honorable Chika, welcome to Atlanta Discuss.
Thank you, Honorable, for having me, sir.
Yeah, I hope I pronounced it very well, right?
You
Yeah,
did, sir.
I guess I
You
was
did.
looking at it. Yes,
No,
it's
you got it right. A
fantastic.
Chikadiri. You got it right, sir.
Chika Dori. Okay, good, good. Well, I'll
Good.
stick to Honorable Chika. Sometimes I call you Chika, you know.
No, that's fine.
Okay. So he's
That's
been
fine, sir.
Secretary General for 4 years. Now he's been president for about 2 years of the Naido Brazil chapter. And I'm a member of Naido myself, and I see that the Brazilian contingent are doing extremely well. So today we're going to discuss so many things, why Brazil is working well for the Naido contingent, what needs to be done. And we have to talk about our own country, Nigeria, where we can synergize. Professor Odin Carlo, Professor Tommy, all my past guests, even to the likes of Dele Momogo, so many things. Well, people like Pastor Ito and Co. Everybody is expecting a lot from the Nigerian contingent, for the Nigerian diaspora contingent. The onus is on them to rectify the situation at home. Everybody believes that if the diaspora contingent gets it well, Nigeria will be well. So one of the questions we're going to ask Honorable Chika today is, are the Nigerian diaspora contingent ready to take the bull by the horn? All right. So in our tradition, go for the juggler. Honorable Chika, what is Brazil doing differently? What is the impetus? What is motivating the Brazilian contingent? You guys, at least as far as I can see, you are far ahead of every other chapter right now. What are you doing differently?
Honorable Ade Balogo,
Yes,
I
yes.
think I just have to thank you, sir, for um, giving us this chance through the Atlantic Discuss. You see, this is very new for us here in Brazil.
Okay.
Of course, since after my election, I have given different interviews, but this is the first time I'm speaking from the diaspora, through the diaspora too. And what we have done differently is this. From the very beginning, immediately after my elections, um, I called my team for an emergency meeting, and we agreed on a direction to follow. The first thing we did was to fully understand the mission statement of the organization, what NIDA is supposed to be doing as the umbrella organization of the diaspora. We needed to also understand some of the challenges we face back home. I was lucky to set up a very strong team where I have the Honorable Secretary General, Honorable Uche Ozigwe, who really understands my direction and what I am to achieve. So, why it seems we have succeeded so far is that we have chosen to apply simplicity in everything we do. And we have chosen to avoid unnecessary competition.
Oh, wow.
My team has given me a sense of understanding on different issues. And Rabbi, just for you to have an idea, as a Christian, I have also chosen to understand something very clearly. It doesn't matter what your religion is. What do you stand for? What kind of example do you want to give when you talk about leadership? So can people trust you? So what I think is happening in my case is that I have been able to prove to my team that I'm reliable, and they have probably seen that. So whatever I say is what we do. Even when we make mistakes collectively. And so we have chosen to serve and to serve Nigeria for real. And that's exactly what we're doing. Of course, along the interview, we'll be talking about some of the things we're doing.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Yeah. It's just important to add that he's a career coach, also educational career coach. He's also a businessman, in Brazil. He manufactures shoes. I'm sure we can see some of those shoes, behind, I mean, it's what you're doing is really novel and encouraging. So let's look at Nigeria as a country. I mean, we're talking about economic development and growth now. I mean, what are your thoughts on Nigerian current economic situation? And how do you think the country can achieve sustainable growth and development coming from your diaspora perspective?
Um, I don't think we have the most comfortable situation now.
Okay. Mm.
Uh, we have to, first of all, accept that um, we have some challenges right now back home.
As a country,
And,
yeah.
and as a country, and I believe that the earlier we begin to understand that, the better for all of us. Some of the challenges we have, I think from the diaspora,
Mm-hmm.
we can help. We can help in different ways. And I often look at the agricultural sector.
Okay.
When you are able to feed your people, other things just fall in.
Naturally.
It- Naturally,
Yeah,
they begin to
I
flow.
think I agree with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is something Brazil has done. I don't know how Brazil has been able to do something incredible to this level. I can comfortably say that food is not our problem here in Brazil.
Oh, wow.
And this is why I regularly campaign asking the Nigerian government to give a little more attention to what we do here in Brazil. And to be able to do that, of course, I've always asked the Nigerian government and, of course, the Brazilian government as well to see how they can look into some of the political pending issues on both sides to improve the diplomatic relationship, because I think Brazil has a lot to offer. From the diaspora here, I'm speaking in the case of Brazil. If we are given more attention here in Brazil, we can do much more. The Brazilian Agricultural Institute, called Embrapa,
Mm.
is ready to work with Naido Brazil. We have approached them and we have presented a couple of things. I know it doesn't happen overnight, and
Mhm.
I think we should just continue to support the government back home. However, the question is, how ready is the government
Mm.
to tap into the resources of the diaspora? Uh, So, are they really interested? So, we have to keep asking that question. But even when they show that sense of being reluctant, we
Mm.
should not give up.
Mm.
We have to continue to push. For the love we have for the country, we have no other country. That's what the way I say. And it doesn't matter how naturalized you are, anywhere you are,
Mhm.
home is still home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just checking now. I saw that Brazil is about 211 million people in population. That's almost
Yes.
the same thing as Nigeria. So what do you
Yeah.
think the Brazilians are doing differently? I mean, we are almost the same population. Brazil is among the BRICS nation, highly developed. Beef alone in Brazil is big business, Brazil, Argentina, and all that. What are they doing differently? Where can Nigeria emulate Brazil?
Honorable Ade, I'm just going to give you an example. There's
Okay.
a city here called Mato Grosso do Sul. It's the
Mm,
name of a city.
mhm,
That city alone
mhm,
is bigger than the whole of Nigeria.
mm,
The number of cows they have
mm.
is almost three times the population of that city.
Oh, wow. Mm,
Yes. I have traveled with some Nigerian business people,
mm.
and I've also received a delegation from Nigeria. We traveled together to this Mato Grosso do Sul. They left Brazil.
Nothing.
I can say they were shocked.
Oh, okay. We what they saw.
Yeah, yeah, for what they saw. So what I have seen is this. What Brazil, I describe Brazil as a silent operator.
Mm.
They don't fight anyone.
Mm-hmm.
They are very focused. The agricultural sector here, for example, now on April the 28th this month, they're going to have the agri show here in the state of Sao Paulo.
Mm-hmm.
It lasts for 5 days and it generates billions of dollars into this
Oh wow.
economy
Oh wow.
just for 5 days. So actually, some of our fellow diasporas will be coming from the US, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
have a few people coming from Europe that will be receiving.
Mm-hmm.
What Brazil has done is that Brazil has fortified the agricultural institute called Embrapa.
Mm.
So Embrapa has been given the chance or the freedom to come up with different agricultural products. So they are in charge of agricultural development. Recently, we had one of the Brazilian giants, actually, it's a global giant called JBS, that signed a new deal in Nigeria for over $1.6 billion. Actually, they're in Ogun State now,
Mm.
exactly in the area of meat production. So there are more companies. One recently spoke, that was last week. I had a meeting with one of the Brazilian giants. They are ready to go to Nigeria. But sometimes the point is, sometimes I feel I'm not being given the right attention back home.
Mm.
Probably because I don't live in the US, because Brazil is a peripheral country. So to be honest, so if I'm given the right attention,
Mm.
I think I can contribute more from here. So, and this is what I have openly asked them to do. Things have improved, to be honest with you. So they're giving me more attention because the ambassador I have now is incredible.
Oh wow.
Uh, yes, so Ambassador Okolo, he's just spectacular.
Mm.
If we can get a little more support from home,
Mm.
I'm being very specific in the agricultural sector.
Mm.
Neither Brazil can do much more.
Mm.
And that I can assure you. And you're going to see that actually by the end of this month, where I'll be receiving some of these people coming from home and from the US.
All right. Don't worry. Anything you do, we'll always support you. We have our new online newspaper. We'll always give you all
Thank
the
you, sir.
publicity you need. You have my word on that. So when you say you
Thank you
don't
for
get
your prayer.
support from home, you have a fantastic ambassador. I'm using your words now. So
Yes.
is the ambassador also having problems getting support? I mean,
No, he's not. I
okay.
know you can be very tricky with your questions, but the point here is that, yeah, um, Ambassador Madoka Okolo
Hmm.
has been here for just about 4 months.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. And what he has done in 4 months, with every honesty,
Mm-hmm.
um, he has done much more than the past 5 years just within 4 months.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, I was impressed when I paid him a courtesy visit 2 months ago, and he declared this words to me. He said, I am going to legitimize all your projects for the good of Nigeria. He told me that face to face. And when you hear that from your ambassador, it encourages you to do more. So, of course, we know that sometimes you have all the political games involved as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm very conscious of that.
Hmm. That's true. Because ambassadors really are political appointees also.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to
In
be
his
fair.
case, we are lucky he's actually a
Yeah,
career
I think
diplomat in
so.
his
I,
case.
I actually think so. All right, so
Mm.
let's talk about Naido a bit. Yeah. I mean, you know that the Nitcom set up by government, headed by Honorable Abike Dabiri and all that, the board has not been constituted, you know, the Naido board and all that. Do you think constitution of that board can help propagate the gospel you are trying to preach from Brazil to Nigeria vis-a-vis agriculture and all that? Do you think that to help hasten, what you're trying to do with the government, helping the nation and all
Honorable Ade, I know you're quite experienced, and I
that?
know
Yeah.
that
Uh-huh.
you understand the information here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, with every honesty, I know things can improve.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I know that in the case of Nitcom, uh, we have a couple of pending issues,
Mm-hmm.
but the the board being constituted will definitely help. I know that.
Okay.
But I don't think there should be an independent factor here
Okay.
because in the diaspora, we should be able to work a little bit more collectively.
Mm.
I understand that when we have a sense of purpose,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes an obligation for Nitcom to behave differently.
Okay.
Yeah, I do understand that we have differences. I mean, we can't deny that.
Absolutely.
But we should also not just blame the whole thing on Nitcom.
Mm-hmm.
We should be doing better. I know people are doing the best they can. So
Mm-hmm.
it sounds easy from the outside. So the leadership of Naido globally, I think they are doing a great job. But we can do better than that.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very possible that when we begin to perform much better, it becomes an obligation, so to speak, for Nitcom to see us differently. So this relationship has not been a very good one. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's been this gap in communication.
Education. Okay.
All right. So, and I don't want to take that personal. So, because since I know that the formation of Naido, the grouping of Naido, the continental framework has to be fully respected, which I do. But I would say that not being selfish in this case,
Mm-hmm.
Nitcom has been very supportive of everything I do here in Brazil. And I have always made sure that my continental chief is fully involved. But again, like I said, talking about Bukola Olaoye,
Okay.
Chairman Bukola Olaoye, but I believe we can be doing better than that. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So I doubt Nitcom is saying that you're perfect. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I think we should concentrate a little bit more here in the
Okay.
diaspora to
Okay.
do the best we can, then begin to demand something from Nitcom.
Mhm. Mm. So
So that's what I think, sir.
you think unity might be hampering progress of Naido?
I think unity or disunity, so to speak, in every
Yeah.
environment is usually not
Okay,
very good.
disunity. Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
for. Yeah.
So
Thank you for
yeah,
that.
disunity is usually not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whichever environment you find yourself in.
Absolutely.
But when you have such an important organization like the case of NIDA, with very top professionals, I think it's expected that we have different thoughts on different issues. So I do not see anything beyond control happening in NIDA. I
Mm-hmm.
agree that we have issues to be dealt with, but sometimes I think we amplify situations beyond what they really are. We have
What they
individuals,
really
yeah. Yeah, we do have individuals who are not interested in NIDO and who are not
is.
interested in Nigeria. So they come in to disrupt activities. We know, and I think we know them all. But I prefer to focus on those individuals who really want to work.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, Honorable Zigwe, and I've
Mm-hmm.
worked with a very new brand-minded individuals. I remember Honorable Said. Um, I've worked with him a couple of times, from the US, Honorable Said Adeleye.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a bright individual who really he shows this interest in working for Nigeria. So we have, and I think I would prefer to focus on those ones.
Mm-hmm.
I've always remembered the 2080 formation. In every society, you have the 20% who really want to make things happen. And the other
Absolutely.
80% are just watching or even disrupting. So my advice again for the diaspora would be that we should simply focus on what we have to do.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter the number of people. We should just work hard, but work with honesty. Like I said at the beginning, can people trust what you say as a leader?
Okay.
So this is
Absolutely.
where I stand, sir.
Yeah, before I go into Nigeria and all that, one more question on Naido. India, it's the most populous country in the world now. It's even more populated than China. India is
Yes.
the largest democracy in the whole world. The democracy has not witnessed a military coup, historically. India, it's a volatile country too, but like I said, no military coup and all that. The Indian diaspora, India is multi-ethnic, multi-diverse, multi-religious, you can go on and on. They have elections in India, 24 hours, things work out. Now, my question is this, right? Indian diaspora in Canada, even in Brazil, America, Europe, doing very well, cohabiting. They will have their challenges, just like everywhere you have human beings, but they seem to be well organized and lubricated. So in the case of Nigeria, do you think ethnicity and religion is playing a key factor in why we can't get ourselves organized in the country and outside the country? Honorable Jacob.
This is a brilliant question, sir.
Yes.
And let me take
Yeah,
it this
brilliant
way.
man. That's why I asked you.
I agree with you, sir. You are. Yeah, you really are, sir. Let me take it this way. I can see where you're coming from,
Mm,
but the point here is, have we chosen to be
mm,
where we've always been that has never produced any good results,
mm.
or are we ready to make changes? I would prefer to go for the second option, and I'm going to give you an illustration of that.
Go ahead.
Most Nigerian young people are underskilled.
Mm.
They go to school, but they are not educated.
I agree. Mm,
And I have seen this play out. I think it's important to set this base, sir.
mm,
When I started as president, when I was elected in December of 2023, then I was able to identify 3 PhD students here in Brazil. 3. What we did was that we started asking questions through those 3 people. As I speak to you now, sir, under Naido Brazil, we have 242 PhD and postdoctoral students here now. What is happening is that these people are being educated the Brazilian way now,
mm,
and they confess all the time that it's been an enormous transformation in the educational careers.
mm.
So now,
Wow.
what are we doing as NIDO? We said these are very young people.
Mhm,
If we are able to support them while they study here in Brazil, they'll be going back to Nigeria to exactly give back to that country for our national development.
mm.
We should understand that Brazil is a Portuguese speaking country.
True.
So, what Naido Brazil has done is this: we have decided to create Portuguese classes for them.
Mm.
So, right now, we train about 300 Nigerians, even ones still in Nigeria as I speak,
Oh, wow.
from
Wow.
OAU, from different universities. So, actually, let me use this medium to actually plead to the Ministry of Education in Nigeria. Since Naido Brazil is doing this, I plead that they begin to give us more attention because we can actually extend this program to different universities because we have these young people who come to Brazil to study. So we can begin to offer these Portuguese classes in collaboration with different Nigerian universities, preparing them even before they come for the scholarships here. So that's going to give them that empowerment and it's going to help the country in different ways. Bringing that to religion, like when you talked about ethnicity and religion and all that,
Mhm.
I'm not going to say this is not true, but we have been able to prove that to the contrary here in Brazil. A few months ago, I woke up one Sunday morning with a call from one of the members of Naido that a Nigerian lady was going through everything you can imagine as a student here.
Mm.
Funding was close to zero. She could not even buy those very basic necessary things for women. We felt horrible. It was a Sunday morning.
Mm.
She did not have $5 with her.
Oh, wow.
And her landlady was really beginning to embarrass her. So I wrote that morning. I woke up, that was around 5:45 in the morning, and I just sent out a message to people through Naido, appealing for Nigerians to support her. What she needed was actually about $200 equivalent,
Oh, wow.
but we were able to raise about 850
Wow.
in just in a few hours.
Wow.
No one asked where she was from,
Mm.
whether she was a Yoruba or Igbo or anything.
Mm.
Nigerians supported her.
Uh,
2 weeks ago, we had a case that was very tough. A Nigerian got a scholarship to study here in Brazil, but she had only 700,000 naira out of the 1.6 million for her flight ticket. This was 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I got to know about this and I appealed publicly to my people here. Last night, I can share with you later, I
Mm-hmm.
announced to the same people that the same people, my fellow Nigerians, have been able to get the 1.6 million naira she needs for her flight ticket. Actually, she'll be flying tomorrow
Oh,
down
wow.
to Brazil here.
Wow.
No one wanted to know. To be honest with you, she's an Igbo lady, a
Oh,
Yoruba
Yoruba.
girl, a
Mm-hmm.
Yoruba girl campaigned for that
Oshikiri
money.
or something.
She campaigned for that money. We got the 1.6 million yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So the point is, we have allowed our leaders back home
Mm.
to brainwash us to a point. So that's why this development from the diaspora is necessary.
Very,
We
very.
can change the narratives.
Mm-hmm.
So what Naido Brazil is simply saying is, we don't care where you are from. We're all Nigerians. We can do it together. So this is a message coming from Brazil. We don't care who
Okay.
you're from.
So you just helped me.
Christian.
You just helped me to my follow-up question, So, I mean, we both agree Nigeria is not doing very well at the moment, and I've spoken to people that be my guest, and they say the problem is failure of leadership, you know, because I was trying to happen ethnicity, religion, and all that, but I've had very learned scholars tell me it is failure of leadership. That if you have a real leader, that is doing the right thing. What you just narrated, the two examples you narrated, shows that you're a good leader, your people listen to you, they trust you, you're not tribally biased, religiously diverted, as the case may be. Do you think Nigeria's problem is failure of leadership?
Hmm. That's a tricky one. I hope I'm not arrested any moment from now.
In Brazil?
Um, Back home, I should be traveling home soon.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
that's a part that's a very negative. I mean, if you can think, for example, that if you speak your mind, you will be arrested. That's not good.
Honorable Ade, I think, frankly speaking, we are not doing very well in different areas, and this is a fact. I used to criticize Nigeria much more than any other one.
Mm,
But at a point, I said, what can I offer?
mm,
So I started, working on how to contribute to the national development. Um, Leadership is a serious problem back home.
mm,
And it's not just about this government.
mm.
We have not really had leaders for so long who truly understand the plight of the people
Mm.
or who actually understand the direction we should be going. So I thank you for your kindness of words. In my case, but that was why I said at the very beginning that it's difficult for me the way I understand leadership,
Mm,
academically and socially speaking. It
mm.
is difficult for me to disconnect individual character from leadership. A leader must portray his personal characters.
Absolutely.
How reliable are you?
Mm,
And what do people mean to you? Do you really care? Because if you do, then you think about your decisions before actually stepping into them.
mm,
When you take decisions that go against your society as a leader, then something is not right. So I would actually openly call for Nigerian leaders to begin to please think differently.
mm,
Fellow Nigerians are going through a lot, including here in Brazil.
mm.
Actually, Naido has a program coming up, I think, May the 3rd. We launched this program recently called Widow's Might. We will be contacting you with that, sir.
No
We will be
problem.
raising fund. We want to raise fund as much as we can to support Nigerians here.
Mm.
It sounds strange to let you know that we still have Nigerians who actually sleep at the bus stops here,
Oh,
who are
wow.
homeless,
Oh,
who
wow.
do not have something to eat for the next meal because, I mean, They have no future, so to speak.
Mm.
So we're doing the little we can to support them, but so most of our leaders come to Brazil to see what I'm talking about. We should please begin to call our leaders out. I'm not afraid to do that.
Mm-hmm.
When we begin to call them out, it is possible they don't know what they're doing right now. But if we begin to speak respectfully,
Mm.
they may begin to understand that something is not going well.
Do you think our leaders are a reflection of who we really are? Because when you look at it, I mean, I want to be try and not generalize or be stereotypical in shape. My personal opinion is that sometimes I feel that maybe we're just inherently dishonest. That's also not a fair statement because it's not fair to say Nigerians are inherently dishonest. But when you look at the religious leaders today, they're speaking from both sides of their mouth. The traditional leaders are speaking from both sides of their mouth. It's turn by turn Nigeria limited. The downtrodden Nigerian too is waiting for his turn to eat, as they say, and Bezo, that kind of thing. So our leaders, I mean, we've been getting it wrong over and over again. Our elections, I've said it in the past, used to be free, but not fair. Now they're not free, they're not fair. So our leaders, a reflection of who we really are. What do you think?
I think the Nigerian people have been intimidated by the so-called leaders.
Mm, okay, fair enough. I've
And
never looked at it from that, but let me hear you out.
when you are intimidated,
Mhm.
you seem to have no direction at all.
Mm,
So what happens is that you go for whatever you see around you.
mm.
I spent a great part of my life in Ileife.
Oh, wow. Mm.
Yes. So if you choose to call me Oluwatobi, you won't be wrong by
Oh,
saying
yeah.
that.
So you speak Yoruba
Yeah,
very well.
I do, sir. I
Oh,
do.
wow,
I do.
fantastic.
And I was an integral part of Ife as a student.
Mm.
And to be honest with you, I still live in Ife until today. That's where my whole family is. My wife is an Igbo lady, but she was born in Ife.
Oh, wow.
All her brothers were born and raised in Ife. So what I have seen is that we have a set of very dishonest individuals who have chosen to go into politics. They have no clue what leadership is about. Very few of these people understand what it means to lead. Very few. And when we talk about the society itself, unfortunately, the Nigerian society is predominantly corrupt, unfortunately. But like I said, probably
Mhm.
because people have been intimidated or so. I use Ife as an example. I grew up with some individuals. We went to school together. We played around Lagere, the downtown part of Ileife. They knew all the sufferings. Some of them today in politics. And you can't believe the behavior that some people have. They have forgotten the reality we all faced,
Mm.
and they have joined that criminal gang destroying the country. Like I said, we have some very good individuals trying to do something good. I have a friend who is a senator, and I know what he's doing in Osho State. He's really doing very well, but it's only him.
Mm.
The other ones are in a different direction. So it's a complex thing to talk about on our body.
Interesting, interesting. Why I asked the question is that I've seen a lot of examples. I've seen people leave the diaspora, supposedly irresponsible people leave the diaspora, get appointment. If you get elected, and they were actually worse than the people that were at home, in shape and
Yeah.
character.
Will you allow me to talk about that, Honorable Ade?
Please go
I
ahead.
think, yeah, I think there's a problem here.
Mm-hmm.
Most diasporans,
Mm-hmm.
most
Most, yeah.
do sincerely not believe in doing anything good for the country.
I agree with you. I
Yeah,
agree 100%. Yeah.
I have witnessed a couple of situations. You know, Let me say this. I knew there was a time people were so angry with Honorable Abike Dabiri because she insulted the diaspora.
Mm.
I was there in Abuja at the villa. I
Mm.
was at the Astor Villa in that event when she said it very openly that the diasporans were beggars. And to be honest with you, from what I saw in my presence, she
Mhm.
was not wrong. And anyone who goes to Abuja for the diaspora that I've always done would testify to what I'm saying, would attest to that. My fellow diasporans go to Abuja to embarrass the diaspora. You see
Wow.
them desperately looking for the politicians, looking
Mhm.
for just a
Again.
contact to do
Mhm.
business. So you see, they are not interested in the country at all. And Honorable Abike Debra is not a baby. She knows that. She knows that very well. And when she was the special advisor to the president on diaspora matters,
Mhm.
her behavior was different. But she has come to realize that we, to be honest with you, we're not very serious. I'm not here to defend anyone, but I'm being honest with you. I've
You
been to
have
the
to be.
diaspora there
It's a no holds.
several
Atlanta
times.
discusses no holds barred. You say it the way it is.
So, yeah, I've been to the diaspora event several times. I've been to the investment summit at the villa, and I have seen this repeat itself. Go to Abuja now in July and see how our fellow executives behave.
Hmm.
You see them running around just to have a shot, a picture with these same politicians. So you
You
don't
go
see any
you go from
serious engagement.
Atlanta to Abuja just to slap picture and beg for.
I have seen that repeatedly. I've
Oh
seen that
God.
repeatedly.
Oh
And
God.
then the few ones who are really ready to work are not given the chance to do so. Nitcom is awake, I can assure you that, so they know what's happening. It's a lot of work for Nitcom to do. But if we want to make a serious impact, I'm here publicly pleading to the diaspora community to begin to see Nigeria differently. We are not seeing Nigeria the way we should. It has been a competition of just showing on my curriculum
Mm.
that I was the president of Naido. I was
Hmm.
that. And that
Hmm.
seems to be what's playing out here.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with
Yeah,
you.
so
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've attended some courses and, when they talk about this culture thing and yeah, and how did they put it? The culture eat strategy for breakfast any day, some of
mm,
these things are cultural, but still on Naido, we do not have too much time as a country. Now, as diasporans, we also do not have too much time. If Nigeria doesn't have too much time, and diaspora are supposed to be the rescuers, there's not too much time. We're not moving at the pace we're supposed to move in. And I think, like you said, and I agree, is one of the reasons why we have that is that we have a lot of square pegs and round holes. Now, my question
mm,
to you is this, yeah, for from all I have seen, and I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart, and I speak honestly, I'm that kind of person. I think you're a square peg in a square hole, right? Now, for a group like Naido, let's face Naido now, your continental body, Naido is worldwide, but you belong to Naido, you're president of the Brazilian chapter, you're a secretary and all that fantastic transition, you know. How, and I say how can Naido going forward, elect people, into position, the requisite people, the right character, what kind of framework going forward? Because I think, like you said, one of the problem is you have a lot of social climbers, people I call pretenders to the throne, you understand? Mostly unpatriotic, selfish. They don't have the interest of Nigeria at heart, And like you said, people might be a professor, doesn't make you educated. You understand what I'm trying to say, So
mm.
at the end of the day, how does NIDO get the right people at the ends of affairs and avoid, disunity going forward? What I know there's no one solution fits all, but what do you prefer? It's very important right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Honorable Dave, listening to
Yeah.
your questions, I mean, anyone listening from anywhere knows very well that
Hmm.
you're extremely talented and you understand Naido very closely.
I try.
Um,
I try,
no,
you know.
you really are, sir. You see, I'm going to talk about this, setting the Brazilian example. In 2016, I think it's important to mention that when you have um, a good civil servant who is sent to any country from home to serve, if he chooses to do the right thing, he can transform the diaspora concept. In 2015, we had Ambassador Mutaro Keita, who was then the Consul General here in Sao Paulo. He transformed the Nigerian community and also Naido Brazil. What this man did was that when he got to Brazil and realized that Naido was completely dead, he decided to face the fight because a few guys had at that time taken over Naido for their personal interests. So he chose to confront those people. And I remember then an Honorable Chairman Adewusi, Barrister Adewusi was the Continental
Yeah,
Chairperson.
I know him very well. Great guy.
Ambassador Keita contacted me in the US, contacted this man, invited him to Brazil. He came to Brazil, and they both worked hard to revive Naido Brazil. So an election was held, and at that time, what the embassy was looking for, the consulate was looking for at that time, was someone that could represent the image of the diaspora and that would also reflect back home. So Honorable Darlington George was elected at that point. Then I served as secretary under him for 4 years.
Oh, okay.
After that, Honorable Darlington George, had the chance to go for a second term. You know what he did? He said, it's not a one-man show.
Oh,
I would
wow.
like someone else to also participate.
Oh, wow.
So he called me and we had a meeting with Dr. Yusuf Adeshina, who declared openly, said, guys, I have no idea what leadership is about. But we literally forced him to take up the position. So he served for 3 years.
At least
Then,
he accepted that he doesn't, you understand, he knew his limitations, yeah?
So we gave him all the support and he did the best he could. After him, of course, people were looking up to me to take up the position. But what I did, so that's answering your questions. Like when you choose to be simple and when you know that this is not supposed to be a one-man show, even though everyone was looking up to me at that point, I picked up my phone and called 3 of my elders who had been in Brazil for much longer, and I thought they could serve. They all turned it down and said, Chika, if you said no, then we're in trouble. But I gave them the honor first to support them for the elections. So that was why I was elected unanimously. No one voted against me. I was a unanimous choice because I had followed the right steps. What is happening right now is that we have lots of rich people in the US who have no idea what NIDA stands for, and they just want to come in because they want to contest an election back home. So they want to use NIDA as a platform, to do whatever they want to do in Nigeria. So it's not because they even understand NIDA. So I would suggest that the few people who really understand NIDA and who are ready to serve should face the struggle, go against such individuals, fight for Nigeria. Nigeria is really worth fighting for. We should go against them, disagree, report such individuals to Nitcom. We should report them back home. We can use a few people to save Nigeria. I refuse to agree that we should be joking with the future of our country just because we have individuals who want to run for the House of Reps or Senate or whatever. There's no problem that they want to run, but they should not use Naido. And moreover, if you do a good job as a leader here, it's automatic that we all support you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's the way I say it, Honorable.
Absolutely. Yeah. So another thing I observe, and I don't know who else to ask. I've asked a couple of people, but now that I have to ask you this, I noticed that in the USA, for example, USA Naido, there are a lot of quality Nigerians in the United States. I am of the opinion that if the American Naido gets it well, the Naido in the whole world will get it well. I don't think, it's my personal opinion, that Naido USA is doing well. Not in the last 2 years, not in the last 4 years, or you understand. There seems to be, which likely lethargy or something. Now, the question is this: why is it that all those very well-structured Nigerians doing extraordinary things in America are not in the Naido? Why is Naido not attractive? I've spoken to people and people say, oh, Naido, I've heard of it. I had a bad experience. There's no. They're not serious. They're not there. Why is that perception so? I know you've said people coming for selfish reason and etc. etc. But America is key to the world, irrespective of what is happening. I've always said, and people know it, which is a fact, 1 out of every 4 sub-Saharan African is a Nigerian. 1 out of every 6 Black person in the whole world. Even in Brazil, when we go to Bahia, all those Black people, when we cumulatively. So Nigeria, technically speaking, is the largest concentration of Black people. To America, Nigeria are the most educated migrating bloc. So America is so cardinal. No matter how hard, you've said it on this program that even when you try and make impute at home, because you're coming from Brazil, the response is not as good as someone that's coming from America. You understand? So I have seen that if the American diaspora contingent gets it well, the whole entire Naido conclave in every continent will get it well. So what do you think needs to be done? It's an old bear, and I'm sure you owe no apology to anyone. How can the Naido USA get its act together?
And Rabade, I hope you're not expecting me to answer this question, right?
I just
Remember, I
asked
live
you.
in
You're at
Brazil. I
liberty
don't
to answer. You're at liberty not to answer, but I've asked it.
remember that I live in Brazil. I don't live in the US.
Yes,
So,
exactly. No. You see, you're part of it. I mean,
yes.
a Togolese
Yeah.
can tell you about Ghana's problem. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on
And
Rabade,
of course,
just
everybody in Nigeria, everybody in Africa knows about Nigeria's problem. Everybody in the world
yes.
knows Nigeria is not that. So go ahead.
Yes. No, on Rabade, you see,
Mm,
I cannot deny the fact that you know exactly what you're saying. I am a member of the board of trustees of Naido, and I've been a member of the board of trustees for the past 10 years. So I've served uh,
oh wow.
at different capacities
Hmm.
with different continental chairs.
Mm.
So I understand Naido quite reasonably well.
Okay.
From the organizational standpoint, let me put this way, sir.
Hmm.
Uh, the US, we have many chapters all over the US. So, and each chapter has very brilliant and powerful individuals who would not be willing to share power with anyone else.
Mm,
And for example, you have Ohio, you have Atlanta, you have South Savannah,
mm,
where and all that. So you have very good people. You have Honorable Collins,
mm,
um, Ikebwano in South Savannah, and but the point is, it is very difficult to bring all those very rich people, well-educated individuals under one umbrella to have
Is
a
it difficult?
unified.
It's interject. Is it difficult or impossible?
It is not impossible.
Exactly.
uh, It
Mm,
is not impossible. That there's no way it can be impossible. I'm not
exactly.
kidding. If we could revive Naido Brazil, any other chapter or any other country can be revived. What
Absolutely.
I think we should do, and we're doing, is that I plead to Brazil, I plead to Canada to continue to support the US, continue to be a little more patient with the US, because they have more chapters,
Mm,
so they have more challenges. So we should continue to give them all the support we can and focus on the individuals we've identified to be very good at what they do. We
mm,
have identified some of them, and we should do everything possible not to discourage such people. You talked about people who said they're disappointed a little bit. I would
Mm.
encourage them to please come back.
They
If
should.
we truly love Nigeria, like I said, it's really worth fighting for. We should not be discouraged. We should find a way to come back because it's for all of us. That things are bad back home does not mean that we're not Nigerians anymore.
Mm. Mm.
We live in the diaspora, we still send money home, we still support people back home. We still pray to
Absolutely.
get home during Christmas or during the Leia festival. So
Absolutely.
I appeal to you, sir, to use your platform to begin to encourage such people to please come back home. Naido is a home for all of us.
We're doing that every
Is
day.
the Yeah, please, is the diaspora
Oh,
umbrella
God.
organization. We can do it, and I believe we can do better, sir.
Okay, I mean, you've been diplomat. You didn't answer, because my question was on the USA people getting it right and all that. Because I've seen scenarios. I'll tell you. I owe nobody any apology for saying my mind.
I hope you don't
I've
want to
seen.
implicate me on Rabade.
No, 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 no. There's not to be. You're not. You're a thoroughbred guy. I mean, I think I've seen some unwilling leaders. You understand? Become in charge of the whole country. Unwilling. And I think that's not good. And I've seen willing that had no capacity. You understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? I've seen,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my personal opinion. I know I've seen unwilling
Mhm.
put in charge. Do you understand? If you're unwilling, no matter how good you are, like that guy that told you, I don't have the capacity for it, but you guys said do it,
Mhm.
we'll support you. So,
Mhm.
but being unwilling in itself, it's not good. And I've seen willing to be there, willing to be in charge, but zero capacity. You understand? So that's why I'm worried that if the Naido conclave, especially the US, it doesn't get it right, I've seen a lot of traction in Canada. I've seen a lot of traction
Mhm.
in Brazil in recent times. It's like Canada and Brazil actually, competing, but I
Mhm.
think the USA just has to get leadership right and I don't know if you
Yeah.
want to add anything before I go to the next
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you that we've actually, to be honest with you, identified such individuals in the
Mhm.
US. But like I said,
Mhm.
we understand where they're going to, so they're interested
Mhm.
in politics back home, and they
Absolutely.
have chosen Naido as a stepping stone to that. I think it's wrong.
Mhm.
And a few months ago, I don't want to use any personal pronouns, but
Okay.
I have to be frank. I decided to confront two of them, and more people joined me on that
Mhm.
struggle, and we've been able to shield them a little bit from the distraction.
Mhm.
So the good ones, should continue to insist on doing the right thing. We have lots and lots of brilliant individuals in the US who can move Naido forward. Um, I think we should begin to, instead of just complaining, we should begin to actually appreciate some of the minds we have. We have a very good one now who is quite young and at the continental level. That if we're able to give him the right attention and project him a little bit more, I think this guy can contribute immensely to our national development. I've spoken to him in the private. He thinks I should be given the attention, but I told him it's not supposed to be so. Um, Again, I'm just from the suburbs here, the Americans. Yeah,
The
so
Brazilians.
yes.
Oh God. Oh God.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll get it right, sir. We'll get it right in the US. We'll keep
Man.
supporting them,
We
sir.
are very anxious. A lot of us are anxious, and I have just two more
Yeah.
questions for you. And
Okay, sir. It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, it would be unfair. You said a lot about what you're doing in Brazil and whatnot. I'm asking you now. Tell us. I mean, we have about 10 more minutes, so tell us about your activities. What are your activities in Brazil? I know you've been helping people, students, and all that, but in a nutshell, can you summarize all the things you've done? Secretary General period, president. I know there's a government, I mean, it's a continuum. So what's happening?
Okay. Okay. In 2016, after my swearing in then as the Secretary General, my principal then, and Rebel Darlington George, and I decided to hit the road here because before our elections, Nigeria had been known for something very negative here in Brazil. So the image of the country had been seriously damaged by some of our fellows who had chosen to do something differently to make quick money. So what we did was that we decided to start visiting companies here in São Paulo. So we attended the agricultural fairs, literally all of them, talking to business people, talking to the government, telling them who we really are, that those few people who were arrested and jailed would not be right to represent the image of the country. So we have been able to completely change the image of Nigeria here in Brazil. So we've have rebranded the country. So then as a Secretary General too with my principal, so we also chose to start traveling to Abuja every July to represent Brazil for the Diaspora Day event on July 25th. And we also attended all the investment summits at the Villa. So since after my election, what we have done is this. I was able to quickly identify one of the greatest challenges, which was that we have Brazil-born Nigerian children here who today, as teenagers or even adults, had never spoken English before. This is a Portuguese-speaking country. So what's happening is this. They are brilliant, good professionals, but they find it difficult to travel to Nigeria because of the language barrier. So they feel like, why do I have to travel to Nigeria? I can't even speak to my uncles. I speak Portuguese, they speak English. So we discovered that that was really destroying the next generation of Nigerians. So what we have chosen to do actually this starts in 2 weeks. So Naido Brazil, under my leadership, has designed English classes for these young Nigerians.
Oh, wow.
So we are going to start teaching them English. So we have informed His Excellency here at the embassy of this project, and he is very happy about that. Like I also mentioned, when we were able to identify over 240 Nigerian students on scholarship here, we also designed Portuguese classes for them to be able to bring this very quick integration with the Brazilian society, one to make them learn better and be able to go back home to contribute. So Naido is subsidizing 90% of those Portuguese classes. So each student pays the equivalent of $2 a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Naido pays 90% of that. Don't forget that Naido is a non-for-profit organization. So we have to search for funding from everywhere just to be able to support that. Then on the agricultural sector, so we've been able to talk and we've actually signed an MOU with the Brazilian Agricultural Institute on how we can attract business people from Nigeria to sit down with them, design projects, and see how we can help back home. So to do that, we're going to have a trade mission this year where we'll be bringing business people from Nigeria, then also bring their Brazilian counterparts to sit down and share ideas. One major problem I have is this. I have a huge challenge on that, is that while we're talking about all these multi-billion projects, we do not have a direct flight from Brazil to Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
And this discourages Brazilian business people. So you don't want to fly for 24 hours, Sao Paulo, Dubai for 14 hours, fly another 6 hours or so to Nigeria. And since Sao Paulo has more than 40% of the Brazilian GDP, it has become an obligation to reinstate the consulate here in Sao Paulo, which was closed some years ago. So my appeal to the Nigerian government is, as you try to develop this relationship again, it is an obligation to please make sure that we have a consulate here in Sao Paulo to be able to attract all these business people. It's an easy channel to link them up. And I would like to appeal through your channel, sir, that the concept of giving all the attention to the United States of America by the Nigerian government is not supposed to be a crime, not at all. But what we're saying from Brazil is this. Brazil has proven to be a giant in different areas. I ask the government to please begin to give us more attention here. We have brilliant minds, we have very dedicated people, people who have this passion for Nigeria, people who are ready to contribute to the national development. We want to get more attention. We want to be able to receive people. When I have events here, I want to see ministers coming to those events. That's going to help. We should not just channel everything to the United States. Please, I want this to go to my leaders. I'm not in any way criticizing, but I'm saying Brazil is a global giant in agriculture, and we cannot joke with that. So that's the message I would like to leave.
Thank
Here,
you.
sir.
The final question is a very short one. Yeah. So what next for you? After the president of your chapter, what else what else in Naido? You still have more to offer. Any plans?
My tenure, I have 1 year and 9 months to go.
Okay.
I have just about 2 years to go.
Okay. So there's still time.
I do not have any plans to for any other thing. If at the end of my 2 years, my people think I've contributed positively and they want me to continue to serve, if they so say, it will then be up to me and my family to think over it, because the greatest challenge I have on this job is that I don't know how to fail. I disagree with failure.
Oh, wow.
And the greatest challenge I have on the job is that I do not have time to rest. I'm married. I have 2 children that also need my attention.
I know.
Yeah. So
Oh, God.
that relentlessness on the job is what is a little challenging for me. So that's why I really have to think my future after these 2 remaining years in office.
Wow. Don't worry. Nigeria needs you. Naido Brazil needs you. The Naidoa in the North and South America needs you. So I mean, it's the family. I know you'll find time for them somehow. It's a price you have to pay for patriotism. I mean, thank you so much, Honorable Chika, for coming to Atlanta and discuss. You live up to the billing. In fact, for you, I mean, the expectation was high and you met it and you even surpassed it. Three things I've observed from our discussion today is from the way you're speaking, from what you've done. The first one is, if you want something done, do it yourself. You've spoken practical. If you want something done. If the second thing I realize also is that if you think about what people will say, you will not do anything at all. You understand? From the way you spoke, I picked that. And the third and most important thing is that you cannot give what you don't have. Yeah. So that's why I asked the question about the American conclave that, I mean, you can be a leader, but if you can't meet the deliverable, you can't meet the deliverable. Thank you, Honorable Chika. Thank you to all our viewers
Yeah.
all over the world. He's been a fantastic guy, a true patriot. I'm going to bring him back again. Trust me, I'm not going to allow him rest. We're going to collaborate with him. For those of you that don't know, AtlanticDigest.com, I'm going to feature him more. Everything Naido Brazil is doing, just make sure it gets to me, we'll publish it. We should not hide our stars. You understand? You are as constant as the Northern Star, and we have to propagate your gospel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for
Thank you
coming.
very much, Honorable Ade. I thank you for the kindness of words, and I pray that we continue to do the little we can from Brazil.
Amen.
And you can count on me anytime, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. It's a wrap, everybody. See you next week. Bye.